Star Trek. Why the Kelvin timeline really needs a new series. Since its inception in 1966, Star Trek has boldly gone through multiple timelines, reboots, and reinterpretations. Among them, the Kelvin timeline, established in J.J. Abrams' 2009 Star Trek film, stands as a fascinating, high-octane, alternate reality that's brimming with untapped potential. With a visually stunning aesthetic, a charismatic young cast, and a fresh reimagining of classic characters, the Kelvin universe reintroduced Trek to a new generation. Yet despite its explosive debut and two sequels Into Darkness in 2013 and Beyond in 2016, the Kelvin timeline has remained curiously stagnant. While other corners of the Star Trek multiverse flourish on streaming platforms, the Kelvin reality lies in narrative limbo. It's time that changed. The Kelvin timeline doesn't just deserve a new series, it needs one. Here's why launching a television show set in this alternate universe would reinvigorate the Trek franchise, fix long-standing missed opportunities, and open the doors to bold storytelling unbound by canon constraints. The case for the Kelvin timeline: untapped potential. The Kelvin timeline begins with a single divergence: the destruction of the USS Kelvin by a time-traveling Romulan, leading to the death of George Kirk and a cascade of alternate events. What makes this timeline particularly compelling is its mixture of familiarity and unpredictability. While many of the same names, Kirk, Spock, Uhura, remain, their fates and personalities differ in exciting ways. This makes the Kelvin universe a storytelling goldmine. But after 3 films, this potential has barely been scratched. Where's the fallout of Vulcan's destruction on the Federation's politics? How has Starfleet's culture evolved in a world now shaped by a catastrophic early trauma? What new galactic threats might emerge in a reality where old alliances may form differently? A TV series, with its longer-form storytelling, could finally dig into these threads. Instead of treating the Kelvin universe as a blockbuster playground, a show could explore its deeper emotional, political, and philosophical consequences, and finally give this alternate Trek the space to breathe. The cast or their legacy deserves more. The 2009 Star Trek reboot introduced a vibrant new crew, perfectly cast to reimagine the Enterprise icons. Chris Pine brought cocky charm and hidden depth to Kirk. Zachary Quinto's Spock struck a balance between logic and smoldering internal conflict. Zoe Saldana's Uhura was finally given agency and a voice. Carl Urban's Bones nailed the cynical doctor's wit and warmth, and Anton Yelchin's Chekhov was a joy. But since Star Trek Beyond, these portrayals have largely been shelved. That's a disservice not only to the actors, many of whom have expressed interest in returning, but also to the characters they redefine. Even if the original film cast doesn't return for a series, their legacy could continue through new characters within the same continuity. A Kelvin series could expand beyond the Enterprise, exploring other ships, captains, or even planets impacted by the altered timeline. This approach would respect what came before while paving the way for a new generation of heroes, the kind Star Trek thrives on. A fresh sandbox for bold storytelling. Modern Star Trek has become increasingly serialized and ambitious, with shows like Discovery, Strange New Worlds, and Picard exploring deep character arcs, time travel, galaxy-spanning mysteries, and legacy continuations. But all of them operate under the gravitational pull of the Prime timeline and its rich, sometimes restrictive, canon. The Kelvin timeline is canon, yes, but it's also free. Freed from the continuity constraints that weigh down Prime Universe stories, a Kelvin series can chart its own course. Writers wouldn't have to worry about stepping on the toes of established events or keeping character development in sync with future lore. That freedom allows for real, lasting consequences, something often lacking in the main timeline. Imagine a war with the Klingons that actually stays won or lost. A Starfleet Academy series where the Vulcan diaspora takes on unexpected roles in shaping Federation ethics. A show about a rogue crew who believed the destruction of Vulcan was a preventable conspiracy. A Kelvin series can go dark, hopeful, humorous, or surreal, and it doesn't need to be boxed into, how does this fit with TNG? It can bridge the gap between fans. The Kelvin films sparked fierce debate within the Trek fandom. Some longtime fans disliked their action-heavy, lens-flared style, feeling it strayed too far from Trek's cerebral roots. Others saw them as an accessible gateway into a universe that had grown insular and impenetrable. Both perspectives are valid. A Kelvin timeline series could finally bridge that divide. In many ways, modern Star Trek shows have already merged the best of both worlds. Strange New Worlds in particular proves that you can blend action, humor, and heart with moral dilemmas and allegory. A Kelvin series can build on that momentum, using the aesthetics and pacing of the films while anchoring its heart in character-driven narratives and thematic storytelling. It could be the perfect compromise, a show that respects Trek's intellectual spirit but embraces its blockbuster reinvention. The time is right, and the audience is waiting. Streaming has changed how we watch television, and it's also altered what kind of stories get told. Niche audiences now have a louder voice. Sci-fi is experiencing a new golden age, from The Expanse to Foundation to For All Mankind, and Star Trek is once again a flagship franchise. There's room for more than one tone, more than one timeline. Paramount Plus already hosts multiple Trek series, each with its own flavor. But none of them cater to the crowd who fell in love with the Kelvin aesthetic, the stylish sets, youthful energy, and vibrant visuals. That fan base isn't gone, it's just dormant. A Kelvin series would reignite interest among viewers who came to Trek through the 2009 film and want more of that universe. Moreover, this series wouldn't compete with existing shows, it would complement them, filling a tonal and narrative gap. Real-world tributes and narrative healing. There's a bittersweet reason why the Kelvin universe deserves more storytelling, and it's Anton Yelchin. The young actor's tragic death in 2016 at just 27 years old cast a long shadow over the future of the Kelvin films. Though his loss was deeply felt, it shouldn't be the reason to end the universe he helped shape. A new series could honor his memory with taste and reverence. Whether through an in-universe tribute, a story that acknowledges Chekhov's off-screen legacy, or a new character inspired by his spirit, a Kelvin show could offer something healing, both to the fans and the cast. Star Trek is, at its core, about resilience, legacy, and hope, themes that resonate even more powerfully in the face of real-world loss. Ideas that could work and are begging to be made. What would a Kelvin timeline series look like? There's no shortage of creative directions. Star Trek: Vengeance, a morally gray spin-off following the crew of Section 31's covert vessels in a post-Vulcan galaxy. Star Trek: Vulcan Reborn, a political drama centered on the Vulcan diaspora and the effort to establish New Vulcan. Star Trek: Excelsior, a Captain Sulu John Cho in command, carrying forward themes of leadership, legacy, and cultural diplomacy. Star Trek: Academy, young cadets navigate trauma, identity, and high-stakes missions in a more militarized Federation.